All right, looks like we're ready to get started. I just want to welcome everyone to our high school counselor CACRAO session this morning. And just want to let you know that you're muted and your camera, of course, it's up to you if you want to turn it on or turn it off. My name is Tequila Barnes Hall. I am the regional representative for College Foundation of North Carolina for the 336 telephone area code. So if you're on our webinar this morning and you're in my region, I look forward to working with you as we proceed. And so just want to talk a little bit about some of the wonderful resources that CFNC has to make available for you. So as you know, we recently launched our brand new website, probably about a month ago or so. And if you haven't had a chance to attend any of our workshops in a virtual way, we welcome you to do that. And we do have one of our most exciting events coming up soon. We have our NC Countdown to College, where we'll be providing some additional support for RDS, for applications, as well as FAFSA. And we're also excited about our brand new scholarship page. So make sure that you're sharing that information with your students, as well as some valuable financial aid resources to help students with FAFSA, frequently asked questions about financial aid, our glossary, and one of my favorite new highlights for CFNC is our calculators. So make sure you're checking that out.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Sydney Dowd-Smith. I am the site coordinator for the Greensboro, North Carolina School Counselor Conference. Thank you for joining us this morning. You are in for a treat. I want to thank you all for just joining us in this virtual world. I know we've all had to get adjusted, so I appreciate you all for being here today. And also thank you to all of my colleagues that are joining me this morning to present some awesome information to you. So thank you for joining us, and we'll start shortly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Evans. I represent the North Carolina Community College System Office. We represent the 58 community colleges in North Carolina, the third largest community college system in the nation. Last year, we had over 700,000 students. And although we are experiencing a slight enrollment decline, we're excited for all the students that we have this fall and moving forward into the spring. Thank you for being here this morning. And thank you for everything that you do for our students and our citizens.
Good morning, I'm Bethany Min. I'm representing the UNC System Office. We are the 16 public four-year universities and one residential high school, the School of Science and Math. And this year we're excited to announce over 230,000 students have enrolled for the fall. Very excited about that. And last spring, over 52,000 students graduated from one of our 16 public universities. And as Dr. Evans said, just want to thank you all for taking the time to be here this morning and for the important work that you're doing. And as Sydney mentioned, this virtual world is stressful, so I appreciate you taking the extra time to be with us and be on Zoom. And please forgive me if I talk when I'm on mute or if I miss your question. I've got 3 kids at home trying to make sure they're doing school. So if you give me a little grace this morning, I'd appreciate you very much. So thank you.
So I guess it's on me this time. Good morning. My name is Dr. Adrienne Freeman. I'm the Associate Director for Undergraduate Admissions at Winston-Salem State University. As everyone has said, thank you for joining us this morning. We look forward to working with you at Winston-Salem State this year. If you need to reach out to us, someone is in the office every day, so you can reach us by using the general phone number or emailing us at our general email address.
Good morning, I'm Casey McAdoo from UNC Greensboro. I'm currently serving as the Acting Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and I will echo all of my colleagues' thoughts on the fact that we're so glad that you all made time to join us this morning. I know everybody is Zooming all their entire days away, so we're really appreciative of your time and effort. And as Dr. Freeman mentioned, UNC Greensboro is open, and we are actively seeing students in our office. We welcome you and your students to contact us, reach out, and we look forward to a really successful fall, even in a unique environment. Thanks so much.
Good morning. My name is Kyle Wooden. I'm the Director of Admission at Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina. Excited to be here this morning, though I'm missing the fantastic breakfast that we usually have together. I'm excited to participate virtually.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Brooks. I represent Shaw University as the Chief Enrollment Management Officer. We've been open since August. We've been serving students throughout the pandemic. We're happy to be here and look forward to serving all of you as well as your students. Please let us know how we can assist you throughout the year, and we look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. So we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation slides that I have. All right, All right, so just the schedule of events. This morning, right now, we will be doing our agency panel. So again, thank you for all of my panelists this morning for joining us. At 1 o'clock, there will be the Public Institution Exchange. At 2 o'clock, there will be the Private Institution Exchange. And then at 3 o'clock, the Community College Exchange. I've emailed all of you all the links to every institution. So please, 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 during those time frames, please visit the institutions that you may be interested in. I know you probably won't get around to everyone, but you do have their contact information so that you can reach out to them at a later date. So please, please, please utilize that information. If you're a school counselor on this webinar and you did not get the information, I will put my email in the chat box. Please shoot me an email so I can make sure you get that information before 1 o'clock today. Also, we will have our COVID panel this morning at 11 a.m. So it's going to be some really good information on there, presenting to you about how our colleges are navigating COVID-19. I'm actually on that panel, so I hope that you can join us at the 11 o'clock hour to discuss how COVID is affecting our universities. Also, here's just a close-up look of the counselor exchange programs that you received. So you have received the institution name, the virtual meeting link, a passcode if applicable, the admissions website, and also a link to a counselor mailing list. So I hope that you would sign up for the counselor mailing list and drop in to visit some of the colleges on our exchange programs today. And just some resources for you to utilize. Of course, CACRAO has the schedule of events, the contact information, as well as the UNCGA, NCICU, and NCCCS agency videos. So if you did not have an opportunity to watch those videos prior to the start of this webinar, please go back and watch those recordings. They've been pre-recorded for you for your utilization. Also, the counselor exchanges, again, it has you meeting with your institutional representatives, and please feel free to drop in and out of the virtual meeting rooms. Our schools are definitely interested in seeing you all and just letting you know kind of what's going on this upcoming fall as well as spring with their institutions. And also, you will receive a counselor evaluation, so please make sure you fill that out so that we can see how we're navigating this virtual world, and hopefully next year we'll be in person to do this again, like Cal said, so we can have that really good breakfast. And lastly, I just wanted to provide you with the contact information for all of the site coordinators as well as our conference co-chairs today. So I will leave this up for you. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Tequila to get started with our panel. Lastly, please use the Q&A feature to ask your questions. I will be monitoring the chat box as well, but please use the Q&A for your questions if there's anything that you can think of that has not already been pre-submitted. Okay, thank you. And Tequila, without further ado.
Okay. One of the things I did fail to mention in my introduction is that if you don't know how to get in contact with your CFNC representative, be sure to call our toll-free number. We'll make sure you get connected. And we have not yet started doing face-to-face meetings for CFNC yet, but we are available to support you guys in a virtual way. And make sure you're also taking advantage of our CFNC Spanish Services State Representative. So just wanted to make sure that you guys know that we're still here to help. So we have some really good questions for our panelists this morning, so I hope that you're ready. And then of course, like my colleague said, you know, if you have questions that you did not hear asked this morning, be sure to put that in the chat. So the first question that I want to start out with would be, what advice do you have for students who are unsure of the type of school they are interested in attending or the admissions path that will be best for them? So that could be example for community college, public, private, or freshman transfer. So I'm not sure which panelist wants to take that question.
I'll take the question. Thank you. One of the things we like to always suggest in the past, prior to the pandemic, we would say, of course, visit the schools, okay? But so now many of our institutions with the wonderful wave of technology, we all have our virtual tours that we offer students and families to be able to take a virtual tour of our institutions. We also have opportunities, in addition to the virtual tours, that parents and students can see about our can visit and check out our institutions. We also can set up private Zoom meetings and also our personal meetings with students and families to be able to take more questions and walk them through all the processes. One of the additional things I like to share is that all of our campuses now are in this, with this Zoom world. Our deans, our president, our coaches, all of our administrators are in a position to personally talk, work, and set up meetings with students individually and their families to be able to make sure they can learn a lot about our institutions. Many of our institutions also have FAQs on our website that actually will answer some of the questions, but I certainly would suggest that families take an opportunity to look at our virtual tours. There are times when that just may not work for students and families, and if you just must come to our campuses, we just actually, they follow the 3 W's, and we actually have set aside an opportunity for families to do those personal visits if seeing a campus up close and personal is their preference. But for the most part, virtual opportunities are prevalent among all of our institutions as it stands right now. So those will be some of my upfront suggestions for those things.
All right, thank you so much for that. The next question we have would be, how can students strengthen their application this year if they are not submitting test scores?
I think we can probably all touch on a subject or two with this question. I think for us, specifically, and, a lot of colleges, and as Anthony was discussing earlier as well, students are going to have the opportunity now. You're not really having to worry about travel as much and really kind of planning those visits out, week by week as you would have in the past. So really demonstrating an interest in Guilford College is really important to me and my admission counselors when you're going through the process. So if we know that you attended a virtual visit and you requested a virtual interview with a counselor, that's certainly noted in your application file as we move through that process, and it's really important to us. So students that are interested in colleges, reach out to your admission counselor. We love hearing from the parents, but with the students mean that much more to us. And that means a lot, especially in this time where we're not able to really see you in person. Knowing that you've demonstrated an interest is incredibly important. And obviously, the essay on the application will mean a lot to us as well. With being test optional, that's something we're really going to take a deep look at.
And Tequila, if I could add to that, engagement is, as Kyle was saying, is super important, and many schools are tracking that information, especially in a year where we're learning to navigate without test scores. But I would also encourage students, as Kyle was saying, the essay and any supplementary information. This is not the year to skim through all of the application parts. It's the point to really take time and list those activities, those extracurriculars, to include the recommendations if it's applicable to the school. And there are also, many of us have a question about the impact of COVID on the student, and we encourage them to use that question. And I want them to think about it in 2 ways. One, if there's been a negative effect that may have impacted, their experience in some ways. Perhaps it's a financial burden, maybe the inability to do some of the things that they had hoped to do over the summer in preparing for college application season, or to enhance their knowledge about colleges and universities. But also to share if they have taken on new responsibilities, to share if they have, many of our students are finding themselves needing to help out more at home with siblings, to take on additional responsibilities so that their families can navigate this kind of pandemic. And so we really encourage students to use that time to share with us how this has impacted them, and maybe how they've grown as a result of it. So there's lots of ways for them to demonstrate that in the application process via an essay or specific questions around COVID. But while we don't, everybody has been impacted by this, we want them to share with us what it personally has meant and maybe how it's changed their thought process about the college search.
I'll add to that. At Winston, we're a little bit different. We did not add an essay to our application. In the past, we've only, we've used a system minimums to admit. This year, because we have gone test optional, one of the things that we are really looking at is course rigor. So this would not be the time to decide, well, you know, I'm just going to fall back on the rigor of the courses that I'm enrolled in, which, you know, I would understand given COVID if you could take a lighter schedule because we may have had to take on additional responsibilities. But that is one thing that the university will be looking at is what are the courses that the student took, especially in the senior year. So.
All right, did anybody else want to chime in before we move on to the next question? All right, thank you guys for that. So the next question is, what updates to general admissions requirements are most important for students to know about?
I can go ahead and take that one. This is Bethany from the UNC System Office. As Dr. Freeman had mentioned, for fall, spring, and summer of 2021, we have gone test optional. Our UNC Board of Governors voted to waive that requirement, being very mindful that many students were unable to take the test over the past spring. Many testing centers have closed, and knowing that's a stressor for families. So this year, the testing is not required for fall, spring, and summer of 2021. Prior to that, and Dr. Freeman kind of mentioned this before, the minimum admissions requirements, prior to March, the admissions requirements were a 2.5 and a test score. We've changed the and to an or, so now the student either just needs the 2.5 to meet the minimum or a test score of 10, 10, or 19. And so opening up options for students to be considered for admissions. It's important to note, though, that that is just the minimum, that each of our institutions can set higher standards, but just highlighting that we are now test optional and that we moved from and to or. Casey, Dr. Freeman, did I miss anything? Please help me.
No, I think you covered it. The only other thing I was going to add is that for the secondary admissions processes that exist on a lot of campuses, that's going to vary greatly this year between campuses. It's going to vary greatly within an own institution. So really important that students and families and counselors all do their due diligence. If a student wants to go into an honors program or a program that has a secondary kind of set of requirements, to look into that carefully in advance, because many of us we're trying to do our best to remove the barrier of test scores in that process as well, but that's not going to be universal. And so I would just say do your due diligence ahead of time to make sure students know and don't miss out on any opportunities in those secondary processes.
And I see a question where they ask about the SAT and the ACT score again. So to verify, it is a 10-10 on the SAT or a 19 on the ACT.
Okay. The next question is, what is on the horizon for CCP in the future? This is a loaded question, so I'll repeat it if we need to. Do you see CCP continue to grow as an exponential rate? What resources will the community college system be placing at high volume CCP participation high schools? And counselors at these high schools need a lifeline. CCP is taking a huge amount of their time. So I don't know if I need to, it's a lot. And so I can break it down for you too. If I need to.
We received this question yesterday, so it came up again. And so first, yes, CCP continues to increase, and I think we're expecting an increase this year, especially with the transition to remote learning. Last year, we had approximately 65,000 students across the state engage in at least one course in one of the tracks of CCP. So we hope we are serving students and giving them additional options to either work towards a workforce credential, take off a few courses as they are seeking to transfer, or work on a certificate or associate degree program. So we love the work that we're doing, and we know it is a burden in terms of some of the administrative work. In regards to that, there are really sort of three resources we're sort of highlighting in terms of how to handle the workload. And the first is over 38 of our colleges now have career coaches that are placed in local LEAs to partner with high schools to help students navigate this process, as well as really try to figure out what they want to do in terms of an occupation or a major moving forward. So your local community college career coach would be a great resource to partner with as well to assist in CCP. The second is we are partnering with CFNC to hopefully ratify the enrollment process by combining the CCP application and eligibility verification process into one application. And so that's something that should be coming forth hopefully by the end of the year. And third, each college has dedicated staff for CCP, especially now that COVID has hit, and they are great partners in really trying to figure out what's the best way to navigate the process as students are seeking those opportunities for the spring. And so we definitely encourage you all to reach out to them. Our statewide office hosts monthly CCP webinars and/or sort of Q&A sessions. So those are things that counselors can participate in to get additional information as we move forward.
Thank you for that, Dr. Evans. And while I have you in your attention, there was another question that was asked.
I think we may have lost her connection.
Yeah,
Dr. Evans?
I'm just trying to get her back. Give me 1 second.
Dr. Evans, do you remember any of the questions from tomorrow? You did such a great job with that one. And what's another one, friend? You knocked that one out of the park. And what's one we got yesterday? You could do it even better today.
I'll just give a brief system update of things coming down the pipeline that you all may not be aware of. One of the most exciting things our system will soon be announcing is an associate's degree for teacher preparation. And there'll be sort of three pathways. There'll be an Associate of Science, an Associate of Arts, and a CCP pathway designed to help prepare students who would like to become educators in our state. And we have a number of private university and public university partners who will be joined at the hip with as we move forward. And hopefully you'll hear that announcement before the end of this fall semester or early in the spring semester as we roll it out.
And while we're bragging, I want to talk about our NC Promise schools at the UNC system. We have 3 NC Promise schools: Elizabeth City State, Western Carolina University, and UNC Pembroke. And as you may know, at these 3 schools, tuition is $500 per semester for in-state students and $2,500 for out-of-state. That's just tuition. There are fees that need to be included. And then another wonderful thing notable about the UNC system is we do have fixed tuition that's applicable for 8 or 10 semesters. So students will know the cost of their tuition for their whole program. Fees can raise, but only up to 3% each semester. So parents and students can sit down together their freshman year and figure out what would be their cost of attendance moving forward the next 4 years. So very excited about 2 of those wonder affordability features.
I too would like to add really quickly in terms of representing in the NCICU institutions here as well. Many of our institutions, a lot of times, many students and parents compare tuition costs with state and private institutions, and we certainly take that into account and make sure that we are able to offset costs for many of our students and parents to make our costs competitive if you will, so that students do not have those challenges. And a lot of times they can have something called sticker shock when they see our costs and say, oh, instantly, they may not be able to afford our institutions, but we're happy to report that we're able to make those types of adjustments and help our students out. Shaw, for example, we've not raised tuition in 8 years, just because we've wanted to be conscious of the fact that there's been some challenges even prior to the COVID pandemic that students and families have had. And so we did not want to pass along the cost that we're incurring to students and parents. And many of our private institutions have made some adjustments as well. So certainly wanted to make a pitch for affordability with our NCICU institutions as it relates to our private schools. Thank you.
So I have a question, just looking at a few pre-submitted questions. And this is something that we'll definitely go over today on the COVID panel as well. But if any one of my colleagues just wanted to take over, and this, I guess, can start from when March until now, opportunities such as internships and study abroad programs and post-graduation assistance, how is that taking place, amongst COVID and in the midst of COVID? And I'm going to ask the question, and I'm also going to answer the question too. From a North Carolina A&T standpoint, some of our students over the summer, they were actually able to get offered virtual internships. And so, of course, a lot of the internships did get canceled, but over the summer, they were able to, some companies offer them virtual internships. Of course, right now we're part of the system, so we move with any type of direction from the system is something that we hope that can come back to in person and different things like that. But our career services office, as well as making sure that we have virtual career fairs and different things like that to still partner our students with different employers and different things like that. So I don't want my school counselors, we're still working around the clock and making sure our students are getting that, contact with their future employers, although we're in this, navigating this virtual world. And any of my colleagues can go ahead and take over if you would like to answer that question. Thank you.
I'll take it after you, Sydney. At Winston, much like A&T, a lot of internships were canceled, but there were some students who had the opportunity to do a virtual internship. As far as study abroad is concerned, we have ceased any study abroad activities until further notice. Like Sydney said, we are taking guidance from the system office. And we are having virtual college fairs. Our career services office is working, well, there is somebody in the office at all times, but we do encourage virtual visits with our staff in career services. And so they are still doing everything that they were doing before, resume writing, interview prep, those types of things. So we're still working and doing and providing the services that we've always done. We've just started providing them in a different format.
Mm-hmm.
I won't repeat everything they said because it's very similar at UNC Greensboro. One of the things we're also doing is looking at new ways to help students create cultural competencies. And there are courses that are co-taught, for example, courses that are co-taught with schools in Finland or in other countries that we have relationships with, so that students are still building those cultural competencies and learning to engage with students who are in a totally different environment. And it's been very successful for us. We've used it in our honors college, and that's continued on through other parts of the discipline. But I'm really excited about the new ways we're learning to help students engage. And I want to give us all a little bit of praise, is that all of the good work we're doing now is going to make, whether it's on the high school side or on the college, university side, we're going to all come out of this stronger because we're learning unique ways to engage students and to help them navigate processes. And we're going to, I really think this is going to be a transition for us in higher education, especially in the ways that we can serve students. So while it's unique and it's not ideal that we don't get as much face-to-face time with our students, I think we are more providing in some ways more access and opportunity. And so for that, I think it's a positive, and we're seeing that with our students on campus as well, able to offer all of the services just in a different format.
I think just to piggyback off Casey, she brought up a really good point. I think for us as a school that has never taught online classes prior to late March, that's something we're going to stick with now moving forward, and that's going to be an option for our students. So now more than ever, students are responsible for, assisting and providing for their families, and they have incredibly busy lives. So just being able, again, to be accessible and accommodating to their schedules is something that we're going to stick with. And I think a lot of other colleges are going to at least keep some portion of the online classes as well that maybe didn't offer it before.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, am I on mute? Oh, okay. All right, guys. Thank you for that. So I actually have another question in the chat. So normally there's a big college fair in October in Greensboro and also in Winston-Salem. Is there any type of virtual event like this coming up for students and parents? And I think you may be referring to the large CACRAO event, if I'm not mistaken. So unfortunately, with CACRAO, that has changed. So what they did offer is they're offering different panels from a lot of the colleges here, UNCG, Winston-Salem State, and Guilford College. We're on a lot of different panels to bring awareness to our processes navigating this virtual world. And so I will put the CACRAO website in there. Please make sure you visit the website just to see what kind of panels and different things are left. Also pre-recorded sessions. So every panel that we participated in, it was recorded for you to go back to view whenever you get the time. But like my colleagues were saying, we are all navigating this virtual world, and we are all have open availability when it comes to speaking to students, whether that be a virtual open house or a virtual campus visit, a virtual group visit. Literally, before this started, we were talking about how we're in Zooms like all day, right? Because navigating the Zoom world is like, you don't get a break, you don't get a lunch, you're back and forth all the time. And so I will tell you, we are working around the clock. North Carolina A&T, we actually do a 7 p.m. on Tuesday virtual campus tour. So that's something that we've been able to accommodate. We know that parents may be at home with your younger children during school during those normal hours. So we wanted to make ourselves more visible to you maybe in the evening. And so that's something that we're doing. So if my colleagues can just kind of talk about just a little bit of the flexibility and different things that you're maybe doing in your office to accommodate COVID-19 and any of prospective students and their parents that actually kind of want to visit us but don't have the luxury of visiting us in person. I'll let you go ahead and take over.
So I'll start off. At Winston, one of the things that we are doing, like I said, our office is open, but we do encourage students to schedule a virtual visit with any one of our counselors just to kind of minimize that face-to-face contact. If you go on our website, on the admissions homepage, there is a link and it says book now, and it will take you to a grid, and it has each one of our counselors and their schedule, which offers their availability. And each one of the sessions are a 20-minute session. And those sessions are designed primarily for those students that are trying to navigate the application process, may hit a roadblock, or just have, specific questions about Winston-Salem State and the application process. Now, we are offering virtual private visits. Counselors can reach out to myself, or you can send an email to our general email box, and we can set up a session. And what we've done thus far is we have the Zoom open, a counselor will come on, but they have their students scheduled at appointed times, and they'll log in and meet with the counselor for that school. The only thing we ask is that the counselor email us the transcript prior to their appointment time so that we can review the application and the transcript with the student while they're online. So we are still providing those opportunities for students, but we're also participating in a number of virtual college fairs. So I would suggest that students do a really good job of just researching what fairs are out there. If they want a list of what we're participating in, they can contact our office. But a lot of churches, fraternities, sororities, civic organizations are organizing virtual events, and we are participating in those as well. So that would give them opportunity to engage with one of our staff members.
Yeah, I think, this year, especially with kind of a small admissions office, just logistically, we're not able to get everywhere in the state of North Carolina at times or across the country at times. But now with Zoom, as Sydney was mentioning, I mean, we're in Zoom private visits and college fairs all day long for the next couple of months at least. So if you ever want to have a college representative participate in a Zoom session with a senior English class or some sort of a panel, I'm sure we would all be willing to do that. So I know on our side, as far as visits, we have 2 virtual information sessions a week. And then we actually have 4 in-person tours, solely outside tours, one-on-one individual with an admission counselor and a tour guide 4 times a week as well. So we're slowly but surely kind of starting that process. We have a virtual open house this Saturday. Again, it's going to be pretty nice. It starts at 9 a.m. so the students can literally roll out of bed at 9 and turn on their phone and participate in open house for a couple hours and be done by lunch. So I think we're all adjusting to the times, and the students really are more adept at all this than we are. So it's all about us really catching up at this point.
I'll just add, UNCG, again, much like the other institutions, are offering a variety of opportunities, whether it's a virtual tour or the one-on-one sessions. One of the things we're doing this year in terms of our virtual open house is, instead of having a single day, we're opening it for 3 weeks of streaming content. And so from October 12th to October 29th, Tuesdays and Thursdays we'll be focusing on academic programs. Mondays is admissions and financial aid, and Wednesdays will be student life topics. And so students will be able to pop in and out of these. They will be on our website, so they will not be gated. Students can pop in and out as they have interest in various aspects of UNCG and to learn more. And many of these will be live stream sessions where students can also engage with faculty or the presenters on each topic. So that's kind of how we're approaching our fall open house. And we will revisit and see what spring has to offer. But that's, I think we went back and forth on the various models out there, and I think everybody's landed in a little bit of a different place, but yet the opportunities are still really, really available and really widely distributed. I'd also say, in addition to the CACRAO fairs, NACAC has a series of 3 fairs. I think one has already happened. One is October 12th, if I believe, Monday, October 12th. And despite, I think, the counselor one being a little bit more challenging to navigate, the student fairs seem to be easier for students, and we've had good success with students popping in on the NACAC fairs. And we're offering a variety of things, of student panels, information on specific programs, Spanish sessions. So they can search all of the universities that are participating in the NACAC fairs and find the pieces that are most interesting to them. So that's another opportunity.
Okay, we have another question. I'm just trying to. Okay, so is there a central way to find out what 16 state supported are doing in reference to visits, and also private schools as well? That would be very nice. And just for clarification, is this the 16 public institutions? And what are we doing in regards to visits and also private visits? So again, with North Carolina A&T, we're Zooming away every day. So we are actually reaching out to schools, and we also have schools that are reaching out to us to set up private visits. And that's just, one way of contacting us. We also have a Zoom lobby. So it's kind of similar to what we're doing now. Anyone can just pop into our Zoom lobby, and there will be a counselor there to answer any questions that you have. And once you're done, you can just pop back out. But we keep that open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I think that's answering your question. I believe so. Colleagues, if you would like to take a stab at it as well.
Sydney, I can hop in really quickly.
Okay, thanks.
So after all of the counselor events, all of our registered high school counselors will actually receive a follow-up email and survey of the events, but also institution information sheets. So all of our participating institutions had the opportunity to list their variety of different virtual visit opportunities on their institution information sheet. So that was CACRAO's way of really combining all of that information for everyone. So for all of the registered counselors, be on the lookout for that at the end of the week or early next week.
Thank you, Courtney.
Sydney, I don't know if this is part of the question, but I know some of the schools are beginning to do campus tours again in person, very small, usually individual or small group. And so I know that may be hard to figure out what everyone is offering so that they can promote it, but that may be part of the question. But it's my understanding that only a few of the UNC system schools have begun that process. I know a few of us are looking for later this fall to possibly begin, but it's really a mixed bag right now.
Yeah. And I think the best thing to do is just reach out to the school to see if there's a school that you're interested in visiting. Just reach out to see, because again, like Ms. McAdoo just said, everyone's kind of doing different things, and it may be very small, if you will. North Carolina A&T, we have not started to do that just yet. Of course, our university, or excuse me, our office is open, but we have not started to do in-person campus tours yet. And so again, just reaching out to the school, whether it be a quick phone call or email, just to see kind of what they're doing. Again, we're all navigating this together, so no one is alone. We're all trying to figure it out. But I think that's going to be the best resource, is just to reach out directly to the school that you're interested in, just to see, you know, kind of what that will look like in the next few months. But as of now, we have not opened our campus tours back to in-person just yet. Thank you. All right, and we're gonna open it up to Q&A, so continue to keep the questions going. You're at a very unique opportunity to have us in front of you today, right now, so we definitely wanna make sure that you get all of your questions asked, or if there's any way that we can support you, I think my colleagues and I would really love to hear from you directly. So what does support look like for our school counselors? What are some sessions that maybe you would like to see at our different institutions? You know, how can we best support your students? So I just wanna open up the floor to you all to just maybe pop in the chat or pop in the Q&A with some questions that you may have for us, because we would love to hear from you, and of course provide that feedback for you now. So I'll give you all a few minutes to do that. And if any of my colleagues, if you wanted to add anything about your respective institutions. Oh, I actually do have a question. Okay, so for financial aid 2020-2021, what year of taxes should be planning to use in order to fill out the FAFSA form opening on October 1st? Oh, I'm sorry. So 2021 and then 2022, which FAFSA? So it's prior.
That's a great question. So that's going to be 2019. So if the student is a senior right now, and they're going to be completing the FAFSA on October 1, their family will be using the 2019 information for their taxes. So it'll be prior year.
Thank you, Tequila.
I'm back.
All right. I always try to like prior. I'm like, okay, what year is it again? You know, trying to figure it out. All right, let's see. We have another question, 2 questions in the chat. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so will students with SAT, ACT scores be given priority for admissions at honors programs? So this is for all of my institutions. I'll let you go ahead and take over. Will students with SAT, ACT scores be given priority for admissions at honors programs?
I can answer for UNC Greensboro. We have historically used an either-or model in our honors college, and we will continue that. Students who have scores can use them to support their application, but they will not be used to penalize them in any way. But many students will be, the basis of their admission will be their academic transcripts. So it can be used if they have the scores, but we certainly won't penalize them for it.
Chiming in from Winston, much like UNCG, if they have them, then, you know, of course, they're encouraged to submit them, and it will only supplement or support the application, but that would not be used to give them any priority over anybody.
We're similar to the 2 institutions at Shaw University as well. No priority, but to supplement.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add? I guess I can add too. For our honors program, so it will not be a factor in the honors program. However, some of those scholarship opportunities that we have that are in relation to the honors program, it will be more of a tiered process to really go through and evaluate those students, since tests will not be required. So that's just a little bit how we're doing things at North Carolina A&T. Okay. Should students submit more recommendations than allowed, or will schools still read only the minimum required if your institution is test optional? And anyone with North Carolina A&T, we don't use recommendation letters, so I will opt out to answer this.
Yeah,
I guess same with Winston-Salem State as well.
Yeah, we're as well. We do not require recommendation letters. So there would not be something that But again, if they submit them, some students still submit them with application packets. We do read them. We do share them with other departments on campus, because I think it's always great to know more about our students. Anything that we can learn about our students to supplement the application packet is always helpful. It's just not required at Shaw University.
I think similar to Anthony with us at Guilford, it's just another thing that can beef up that application file that much more, and allows the admission counselor reading the application to vouch for the student that much more in the admission process and the scholarship process.
Thank you.
Same at UNC. We use it as supplementary information. One of the things I always tell students, if there is something that needs to be explained in your academic transcript, or something in your background that you want to be shared with us, recommendations from your school counselor are a great way to do that. It helps give us more information for both our students who are borderline, as well as for our students who are high ability and high achieving, looking for additional opportunities. But and certainly we'll know student to be penalized for not having them.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have another question. And I believe, Tequila, this may be for you. Has the college deadline sheet been updated on the CFNC website? Has that been updated?
Yes, that information has been updated on our website. So you should be able to see that in your education professional area. And also, if you're unable to locate it, then you can also reach out to your regional representative, and we'd be happy to email you the PDF.
Thank you. All right, so based on an August webinar, I advise students that they should only submit test scores that they positively support their application. For example, if their test scores are lower than what the average incoming scores are for a particular institution, they should pass on sending those in. Was that good advice? And Casey says yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not as fast on the as I would like to be. But yeah, I think that in our case for you, I can only speak for UNC Greensboro, but that is good advice. If they're at or above our averages, I would encourage them, if they have them, to submit them. If they're below, again, we will not use them, but if it helps them feel better in the process, they don't need to submit them if they're lower.
And from Winston-Salem State, I would have to agree. If it's lower than the system minimum, there wouldn't be any need to submit the score. If it's at or above the required minimum, then it will only supplement or support the application. But it's also important to remember there are programs such as our nursing program that require a SAT or ACT test score for admission into that program. And although that's not done during the initial admission process, when they get ready to do that, that score is already on file, and the department can request it from us. So if they have it and they want to go ahead and send it, then, by all means, they should send it if it can help them out.
Thank you. So Tequila, this may be for you again. So family incomes have been impacted for 2020 for some students. Since FAFSA will be based on 2019, how should they reflect changes in income for 2020 because of COVID?
Thank you so much for that question. What I typically recommend that families do if they feel like the FAFSA form is not accurately, sharing or showing information about what's happening in their family, that's the time to communicate with the financial aid office of the school that they will be attending. And then that college university will review that information and ask you to provide any supporting documentation that they need in order to make any types of professional judgments.
All right, thank you. Okay, and another question. So with North Carolina colleges being test optional this year, how does this affect how a student is evaluated? Will their GPAs be more heavily evaluated, or would it be about the same as before, but excluding the test scores? I'll answer this from a North Carolina A&T standpoint. Competitiveness is still a big thing. And so granted, we are test optional, but we're still looking for our students to be competitive with their GPAs as well, because essentially that's the only thing that we have to evaluate our students with this upcoming school year. Hopefully you all can join our counselor exchange a little bit today so I can kind of share kind of what that will look like for you all with the competitiveness and the amount of applications we receive every year. And then with that, the amount of students that we're able to accept to our institution. So again, competitiveness is huge. So I would definitely have your students to be more competitive in the GPA, as well as making sure they're completing the minimum course requirements mandated by the state for sure. and any colleagues you can take over as well. I think we're all in agreement. Okay.
Well, at Winston, one of the things that we are beginning to look at now is class rank. And again, like I said before, course rigor. We do have a predictive model that will indicate whether or not students will be successful or the likelihood of retention. And so we will be basing a lot of our decisions using that predictive model. This will be the first year that we're doing that, and that is, in light of the test optional model that we have adopted this year. So not having test scores will kind of impact how applications are reviewed. We are looking at, when we say competitive, for us, that begins at a 2.8 as opposed to the 2.5 that we have traditionally looked at, with that being a system minimum. However, if a student has anywhere from the 2.5 to the 2.799, we are still looking at them, but definitely that course rigor and that class rank is going to be important because, as Sydney said, we don't have anything else to really judge the student on.
Yeah, we will also be looking at course selection, course progression across the transcript. One of the things I do want to, this may be helpful in sharing with students and families, is we're also going to be looking at kind of the core GPA. So what is the GPA for the MCR courses? We know that there are some courses that are taken as a part of the minimum course requirements that are more predictive, such as English and history in terms of certain majors in science and math and other areas. So we'll be looking at those and trying to best predict students' ability to be successful, as retaining them is our top goal. Admitting them is a priority for us, but retaining them is going to be the priority as we go through the admissions process this year.
All right. And with just a few minutes left, I want to say this may be our last question. How many colleges, or excuse me, how are colleges looking at PC-19? I have several students who are using the PC-19 for classes that are not weighted to improve their GPA and class rank. Do you recommend they do this or not? Anybody want to take it? PC-19. So I'll answer this just from an A&T standpoint. So PC-19, what we're looking for at A&T, we're looking for you to receive the credit for the class. We're also, if you think that the PC-19, for instance, will mess up your chances of getting a numerical grade if possible, we're going to look at the cumulative GPA also. So that's something to consider as well. If that does not add into your cumulative GPA or boost you in any type of way, of course, if that's the only option that you have, that's the only option that you have. But we're looking for that cumulative GPA, and we're looking for you to receive the credit for the class, if that makes any sense to you. The credit and then the cumulative GPA, that's what we're looking for at North Carolina A&T. And I know sometimes the PC-19, you can't get around it, that has to be there for you. And so unfortunately, again, we're gonna look for the cumulative GPA as well as the making sure the student receives the credit for the course.
And I'll chime in briefly for all of the community colleges. For the fall, most of our community colleges have implemented RISE, which means we are sort of transitioning away from our traditional developmental coursework model. And we're looking at unweighted GPA of a 2.8 or higher for a student to begin college level English and college level math. And so if they are above that cutoff, the PC-19 grade would be fine. If they are below the 2.8 GPA, they may have to take a co-requisite course. So maybe a letter grade may bump their GPA over a 2.8. So those are sort of individual decisions that students will need to make with their admissions counselor and or school counselor.
I was just going to say, I think what Lee wrote has been our advice. If the student's making an A or B in the course, we encourage them to take the letter grade. If they are not, PC-19 seems to be a good option for many of our students. But again, it's going to come down to, the holistic review of that transcript. 1 or 2 courses is not going to make or break as long as they have the credits for minimum courses.
I just want to I think that's a good opportunity for students on the supplemental application to explain why they did it, right? Maybe they didn't have access to internet. Our institutions understand that. And it's another great opportunity to say, my parents lost their job or I had to take care of my siblings. That's why I didn't do as well as I was doing before. But I wouldn't want them to waste that opportunity to communicate that to the counselor so they realize that there was some really extenuating circumstances, because that's why PC 19 was developed. We need to be mindful that not every student had all the same opportunities. And so we be stressed out about, oh gosh, I should have taken that grade. No, you have to do the best for you, and just explain that situation. And any institution, not just the UNC systems, are going to listen to you. They want to hear what happened to you and will look at you overall. But I would use that as an opportunity to talk about why you chose that option.
I wholeheartedly agree with Bethany as well. For our NCICU private institutions, I mean, by us being smaller institutions, for us, it's good to get to know your counselors. And so with us, contact your admissions office, contact the counselors, make sure they understand. I mean, we're reading, application files and we're making notes, and we take all these things into consideration. We truly understand everyone has had to make a COVID adjustment, so to speak. And so we're not trying to penalize students. We are trying to understand. But I think if you know your personal situation, explaining it, such as Bethany has said, will help us make a better decision in terms of helping you. It also extends with the financial aid opportunity as well. I mean, let us know these things. I mean, filling out a FAFSA is a lot of information, but at the same time, if you've had a change of employment with your families, things like that, it could have just happened. Let us know these things. There are things we can do internally. There are adjustments we can make. There are resources that the state and federal resources that have been provided to help students and families, because we do understand. And again, we're here to help students and families as well as counselors in schools. We also want you to know to reach out to us on the counseling side, the schools, to say, here are some students, here's a particular situation. Is there anything we can do? Let us work with you to help your students in your schools. We all are open and welcome for these types of opportunities to make it best for our students and families. We are all in this together. Our board chair likes to, he always says, working together works. And, it's not just working with our internal colleagues, it's working with our families in schools and counselors as well. So it all helps once we know.
Thank you, Anthony. And also, in addition to Anthony and Bethany, our admissions processes, we all probably sat down in many of Zoom meetings to talk about what it would look like for fall and what it would look like for spring. We're fully aware of the challenges that you all are having, because we have a lot of those as well. And a lot of us had to tailor our admissions processes to some of the challenges that you were having so that we could be inclusive and that we could, include everything that you all are going through and how your students are navigating this too. So understand that we are offering a lot of grace as we all navigate this and figure this out together. We just hope that you extend that same grace to us as we're all navigating and trying to figure this out together as well. We woke up one day and never went back to work, right? And so again, we're really just trying to figure out the best way, to make this a very transformative, amazing year for our students, although it may look a little different. And I'm sorry, we have one more question before we close out. Do you foresee that current 11th graders will need to submit test scores for their application, i.e. class of 2022? Great question. So we will wait for the system to let us know how that would look. At this time, we only have information for 2021. So Bethany's shaking her head. We will wait for the system to advise our public institutions on what that will look like. So I will say just keep a lookout for any press releases from the system. And again, just reaching out to those schools just to see what that looks like. We hope that SAT and ACT will students will be able to take the test, and we can provide a safe space for them to take the test and of course be healthy. But again, we're honestly day by day, we're navigating this day by day. So I hope that answers your question. But on behalf of CACRAO and all of my colleagues and my panelists today, thank you so much for joining us. My school counselors, I hope that you got a lot of great information today. This session also has been recorded for you to come back and look back at in your leisure. So I hope that you will join us for the COVID panel at 11 a.m. and then for the counselor exchanges starting at 1 o'clock. So thank you so much to all my panelists. It was a pleasure working with you all today. And for my school counselors, again, thank you. And I hope that you all have a great day.